And then there were 4 and 3. It's betting above the rim, college basketball today. Where else would you want to be on a Saturday in April? Coach James Young, Joe Lisi, I'm Kevin Walsh with you this morning on SportsGrid as we get set for the NCAA tournament's close. 4 teams remaining. And, Coach, it's not been upset city. The 4 best teams entering this tournament are the 4 teams that remain in this tournament.
I know people are upset that we didn't get the upsets that we wanted throughout the tournament, but a really historic season, Kevin, if you really think about, KenPom ratings, 3 teams with a rating of 35 or higher in the last 20 years before this year, all 4 get 35 or higher. This is going to be high-level basketball. You have the 4 best teams that have been consistent throughout the year. I mean, maybe Florida kind of snuck up on some people, but they've been really fantastic the last 2 months. Obviously, Houston dominating the Big 12, Duke dominating the ACC, and obviously Auburn, until their little slip-up before the end of the year, Joe, was the best team in college basketball. We may not have had the upsets we want, but we do have the 4 best teams this week in play.
First time since 2005, right? That all 2008, that all 4 seeds are there. It's a contrast in styles, I think, in the late game, right? Duke and Houston. Houston doing it with defense. Duke, we know the offensive explosion. They put together a great effort offensively and defensively in terms of their Elite 8 matchup against a very good offense in terms of Alabama, held them to 65 total points. Can they have that type of productivity beyond the arc against one of the best defenses against the 3 in terms of Houston, the way they took care of business against Tennessee? And then in the first game, Florida, you can make the argument, I think, and you and I have talked about it. Should they be here, down 9 with 2 minutes left on life support against Texas Tech? They buried 3 straight threes. They prevail, and now they're facing a team that they took care of business in terms of the regular season, 90-81 in Auburn. The number 1 overall seed, not given a lot of respect in this tournament in terms of the Final Four right now, and that's why they play the games, Kev.
Yeah, the 2 games today in Auburn and Florida and Duke and Houston, the expectations are high. I think it'll be very tough for them to actually probably live up to those expectations. But as far as these teams being here, there's 4 teams on, you mentioned KenPom for, the 35-plus rating. There's 4 teams that are both top 10 in offense and defense. It's these 4 teams. It's not just that they are elite on one side of the ball. It's that they are elite on both sides of the ball. And make no mistake about it, all 4 teams are elite on both sides of the basketball. Auburn spent a lot of this season as the most dangerous offense in the country. We know what Houston brings to the table defensively. Florida has been such a well-balanced group throughout the year. But despite the fact that it's all the number 1s, we have a minus money favorite to take this whole thing down. Because Duke spent the first half of the season as the best defense in the country and then flipped the switch and went, we'll slip back to 4. Don't worry about it. We're now the best offense maybe college basketball has seen ever. I don't know. It's one of the best, certainly, in recent memory from an efficiency standpoint. And Duke is a 4.5, 5.5 point favorite against the Houston Cougars. Not because Houston limped here. No. Houston's had one of the more difficult runs college basketball could possibly offer a number 1 seed in the chance to make a Final Four. It's because Duke has dusted everyone in their path. They've done it, Coach, behind a star-studded freshman class. Yes, there's other guys. I'm not acting like Tyrese Proctor, Sion James have not been important. But in an era of college basketball, we talk evolving landscapes. The idea had to become, you can't win with freshmen. Cooper Flagg, Con Knipple, Kaman Walsh. Those guys are lottery picks, and we all know it, and they're the 3 best players on this Duke team.
And they are, and I think what makes them so special is the fact that as a coach, when you recruit kids, you're never concerned about their offense, right? It's always going to be about their defense. Can they carry themselves defensively, right? Can they hold their own? Molly Walsh is obviously a rebounding machine, obviously, being at 7'2", rebounds outside of his area. Con Knipple, while may not look the part, rugged defender, gets up in passing lanes, can stop the ball. But then there's Cooper Flagg, who could be, I don't know, the best freshman wing defender I've ever seen.
Yeah.
in regards to the fact that he can guard 1 through 5. You could switch him on ball screens. He can guard guards. He can guard inside. He's probably one of the elite shot blockers in the country. And I think that's what makes this Duke team so special to watch is you're always like, damn, like can we just get these guys to be like adequate defensively by the tournament? No. Like, listen, Cooper Flagg's their best defender. Lily Watch is their best rebounder. These are their primary defending guys to the point where if it's an end of a game, you're not pulling these guys off the floor, Joe. You're keeping them on the floor because they can play both sides of the ball. But like I said, I'm more impressed with their defense and their offense.
Very rare out of position, right? That's the biggest thing I think when you watch these games play out and look at the game against Alabama, right? And an elite offense, they held them to 8 of 32, 25% from three-point range, right?
Yeah.
You could have that type of defensive effort against one of the most explosive offenses in the nation. You know you're doing something right. I think the biggest thing for Houston when you just look at it, to Coach's point in terms of the defensive matchup for Duke and how they attack, not a lot of teams get a lot of transitional points against them, right? I think Arizona, when you just look at the tournament as a whole, was able to move and convert with Caleb Love getting up and down the field, a court in terms of transition. They're going to have to do that today, Houston, because if they're not knocking down threes, they're going to have to work for shots. But that's what makes this game so intriguing from the spread perspective. We see 4.5s up to 5.5s, right? Duke has dominated the competition. They won 4 games in the tournament by an average margin of victory of 22 points per game. It's not going to be easy. That's why I want to see how Houston attacks this defense of the Blue Devils later.
Well, I think, when this game, as a coach, to me, it's going to come down to the 3 most important people on the floor, and that's the referees. How are they going to allow this game to be played? Obviously, Houston, with their strength and their age, they want this to be a slugfest, right? They want this to be half-court basketball. You bump and you chuck cutters. You're really handsy on the ball. You make it extremely difficult. Duke, while it can play that way, needs to be a little more fluid to move offensively, especially the way they back cut and move. Yeah. It's really going to be critical, and I always told my players this. First 5 minutes, you got to figure out how this game is being officiated. And I think that's something we need to watch early on in this contest is how do the referees handle this game? Because if you look at a matchup like Cooper Flagg and Jerron Roberts can't stay in front of him if he can't be physical with him, if he can't move him a little bit, especially on cuts as well. If they call this game tight, that's going to lead more and more to a Duke advantage.
Outside of the men's Final Four, we yesterday saw the women's Final Four. South Carolina handled their business against Texas. And UConn absolutely steamrolled UCLA. At the half, AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong nearly were outscoring, which is just incredible to think about, UCLA. And while those are 2 great players, neither are Paige Beckers. That is how dominant this UConn run has all of a sudden become. A 2 seed, rightfully seeded as a 2 seed, but have been tournament favorites for a little over a month probably now, and they end up as a 6.5-point favorite for tomorrow's game against South Carolina. We will talk about that matchup in the road for both of those basketball teams to the Final Four. We will also get a little bit into the Final Four's Most Outstanding Player Award. Can we make heads or tails of how they decide that? We can. I'm probably going to be a little on edge. It's how I am with that award. And maybe even some transfer portal. None of us hopping in. Don't you worry. We'll be right back
maybe
after this quick break. Where are you going?
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care if people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're live on SportsGrid on a Saturday morning. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, and Coach James Young. Let's get right to it here. Sometimes we slow roll it. I think we got to get right into Florida and Auburn. 1 versus 1.
Yep.
2 teams out of the SEC. And, man, it was on the board at one point that we could have had the SEC tournament semifinals recreated in some capacity. But Tennessee and Bama were dropped off by the 1 seeds in their region. We'll get to Duke and Houston in just a little bit. You have a 2.5-point number, a total checking in at 159.5. You look around the markets, and those numbers are really consistent. I'm not seeing anything other than 2.5. I'm not seeing anything other than 159.5, except for a lone 160 out there right now. So you are seeing consistency in the market, which you would expect for a Final Four game. It's Auburn and Florida, Joe, and I know that this is one you feel really strongly about.
I do, and I know Florida won the regular season 90-81. The SEC champs playing, you could say, more consistent at the end of the regular season than Auburn. They lost their identity against back-to-back losses heading into the SEC conference game, but they seem to be back on track. I think when you look at this game, you look at the 4 games that Florida's won in terms of the tournament. They've won those games by an average margin of victory of 12.7 points per game. On the flip side, the 4 games won by Auburn, 12.2. So very similar, right? But how does this game play out? I mean, the stars have been shining for both teams. Walter Clayton with 30 points for the Gators, right? They've been hitting threes, especially in the run against Texas Tech. And the biggest thing for me is that Auburn got back to Janai Broome. They got back to their identity. He's averaged 23.5 points per game, coach, 15 rebounds over the past couple of games, and they held Michigan and Michigan State, respectively, to only 30% in terms of field goal percentage. I think both of these teams go at it. I think it's a high-scoring game, but I'm going with Auburn. I like their physicality. I like Broome. I think he's the difference over Condon. I think it could be close, but I do feel that Auburn pulls out the upset.
Well, it depends on what Auburn team you get. I mean, the Auburn team early in the year was absolutely fantastic, but before they hit that slide, they did lose 90-81 at home to Florida. And if you really think about it, folks, it was interesting because I was listening and watching as Donnie and Kevin were doing the game versus Michigan State. And what I found is anytime Janai Broome got out of the game, that team struggled and struggled mightily. 23-8 early on, first half, then the second half with the injury. I look at this Auburn team, and I just look at Florida and say, okay, well, which team can hit you with different guys? To me, it's Florida. Which team I think has enough height to maybe, go against Janai Broome? With Chenalou, with Howe, obviously, and with Condon. We'll see how Condon is obviously, rolled his ankle in the Sweet 16 game. So to me, that's where I look at it. So then if I think that you have enough bigs, now it goes to the guard play. And I always feel like it's a guard game. And the best guard on the floor is Walter Clayton Jr. You can talk about they were dead to rights, down 9, and Walter Clayton got Jr. Shout out to Iona in the building.
Thank you.
There you go. Rating those threes and kind of putting that game away for them. But you kind of just see also the path, right? Yes, the points, after margin of victory is about the same. But to me, I think that, in my opinion, they've been tested more, to me, in regards to Florida, like going against UConn and really making it a street fight. Maryland had them kind of out of their wits in regards to turning the ball over, right? And, adjusting at halftime. And then a Texas Tech team that I don't think people gave them the respect they deserved, including me going into the tournament. I didn't think they were going to make it to the Elite Eight. I had St. John's, but I still had Texas Tech in the Sweet 16. So to me, the paths to this point, not equal. I actually think that Florida's actually been tested more and has shown more to me than Auburn.
That's interesting. I disagree. I think Florida's just struggled more. I look at Auburn's path, and I think that Michigan and Michigan State are two teams very, very strong on the defensive side of the basketball. So I think I could absolutely say that Auburn's task today against the Florida defense will not be the toughest they've seen in this tournament. Certainly it's going to be the best offense that they've seen. Florida's not seen good defenses. Texas Tech is offense first, UConn's offense first, Maryland. Maybe I'm discrediting Maryland a little bit. That I would listen to that argument, but it's I don't know. I don't know if I buy into the Terps as much as I should. Maybe that's on me, right? The Terps were there on a buzzer beater, wouldn't have been knocked off by Colorado State. Auburn is the best offense Florida will see, and I think the best defense that Florida will have seen in the tournament. One of the things with all of the in-game lines that we do as a group, we follow these numbers so closely. Duke has been 0 times in this tournament as an underdog. Not a second. Not 1 second on the live number. Houston, despite the run that they've had, these teams that they've played, not a second as a live underdog. Auburn for about, a minute 30 against Michigan, and then that flipped, and then they ran away from that team. Florida was a live dog throughout the game against UConn, throughout the game against Texas Tech. It is not to say that they are lucky to be here. Their opponent didn't slip on a banana peel, but UConn could not make a three. Texas Tech couldn't make a free throw, and the Gators end up here. The selling point for me on Florida would be the performance against Maryland, Coach, where you go, struggled against UConn, looked amazing against Maryland, struggled against Texas Tech. If Florida plays their best game today, obviously Auburn's going to be up against it.
Yeah, and I think when you think about it, that's to me where it is. It's a lot of coaching. It's going to be adjustments, right? Mm-hmm. 13 turnovers, 11 fouls first half versus Florida against Maryland, down by 2. Flip the switch.
Yep.
They have an ability offensively to flip that switch. And I think because of the number of players, and to me, how becomes an interesting guy here because his game has started to elevate a little bit as Condon got hurt. He's going to be a big part of this matchup because he, as a 4, has the ability to stretch the floor, maybe bring Jedi Broom outside, maybe you attack him on the offensive glass.
Yeah, it's a great look. I think that for me, that's where I look to the total. We haven't seen this fluctuation, 159.5 staying flat right now, firm. I mean, with all unders last week, both of these teams know each other, Kev, so I think they start fast. First half total, but I like the over 159 and a hook.
Auburn and Florida, 2 number 1 seeds out of the SEC. We will break this game down looking at the props market next right here on Betting Above the Rim, college basketball today.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Auburn and Florida, the head-to-head battle, a spot in the national championship is on the line. Lisi is on Auburn. Coach is on Florida. I break the tie, and I will take the Tigers in this spot as well.
Spicy.
The spread math on this game would make your head spin if you allowed me to go all the way back to their meeting in the beginning of February, where Auburn was a double-digit favorite in their own building. That, though, was a turning point undoubtedly for the Gators, a turning point not just in their season, but in their perception. All of the odds started to go, oh, wait a minute. This team's the real deal. Futures and their game-to-game booking, you could see that shift begin. But I go back to just the SEC tournament, where Auburn was the clear favorite heading into that tournament, and Auburn was a bigger favorite in their semifinal game, albeit a loss to Tennessee, than Florida was in the final game against the Volunteers. I think for me, this number has moved a lot because of how Auburn closed the season. I think it's fascinating that Florida's tournament struggles, at least that's how I view them, are not factoring into this number. Maybe I should be playing money line, but I'm the crazy one who's going to just take the 2.5 points, because if this goes down to the buzzer, I'd rather have my 2.5 points, Joe.
Your protection, your liver. Yeah, all right, okay. Kid gloves. I thought go big or go home. But, it's a pretty good look, especially when you talk about how the favorites have dominated. From the money line perspective, I understand in terms of taking the points here.
The favorite thing, though, for me, that's over. Like, I understand that there are favorites in this game, but
people have made a killing throughout the tournament in terms of the money line. Back in the big.
They're going to do it again, though. There's going to be Florida Duke money line parlays here all day.
Absolutely.
Someone's going to have to smash, or maybe a double smash.
You're right about that. I think. You would want, at the end of the regular season, you would want Auburn to be playing their best basketball. They lost games down the stretch. They got knocked out of the tournament, and they've seemed to regroup. But, again, I look at the body of work as well. They played a very good Creighton team, a Creighton team that at that particular time was trending, right? They put up 80-plus on them. That Creighton team was 8.5, 9-point underdogs, and they still covered that line.
Yep.
They got a hot team in terms of Michigan, held that offense in check, even though Danny Boy Wolf broke out with a huge performance, right? A huge performance. They kept them in check. Once they got the lead, once they were down, all of a sudden they never relinquished it. And then Michigan State, even though it was a 4-point game, they never really got within striking distance. Even though Broome was hurt, they kept them at bay. They win that ball game by 4. I still like Auburn here. I think they're battle-tested. Obviously, it's not just Broome, though. Pettiford, Coach Miles Kelly needs a better effort. He's a player I'm looking at in terms of the offensive perspective. He started fast with 7 first-half points last week. He buries at 3. Doesn't really get going in terms of the second half. Today, against Walter Clayton and that defense for Florida, I expect the guard play to step up. Miles Kelly, I think he's plus 210 for 15-plus today. I expect him to have a big day.
The one thing, Coach, that you said that we were talking during the break, that perhaps people are screaming at their TVs when I'm talking about this number. Jedi Broome's injured. That's moving the number. And I know that's for you a factor into betting on Florida in this game.
Yeah, and I think, to me, also the ability to throw multiple bigs, lots of bigs, a lot of different matchups can. Chinaloo, obviously, Condon. And the thing about Jedi Broome is you have to play different ways. Chinaloo, around the rim, right? Shot blocker. Condon, inside out. Perimeter, right? So to me, you look at the number of bodies, and that's what I look at too, is that's 15 fouls right there. There's a lot of guys you can go up there and kind of make Jedi Broome work. Now, the interesting thing to look at someone like Jedi Broome, to me, if you look at like props, is maybe the 3-point shot, depending on who gets the bulk of the minutes, right? If it's someone like Condon or obviously Chinaloo, then you look at him to go to the perimeter. Maybe look at his 3-point prop. I think it's 1+ made threes at minus 150, 152, something like that. If it's more of the opposite with Houck, now it goes to the inside. So to me, there's going to be a lot of, even though they know each other, there's going to be a lot of chess matches being made by Golden and Pearl in regard to try to find ways to get their best players the shots that they need them to get.
Speaking of props, Joe mentions Miles Kelly. I think he could have himself certainly a big game here. I will say on the other side, I think Will Richard plays well, 12.5 points prop. It's a clear and obvious bounce-back spot for him, scoring just the 6 in the last game that they played against Texas Tech. Very inefficient in that game. Didn't make a 3 in that game. I don't mind a look on Chad Baker-Mazara either, who's really struggled over his last 2. He has struggled against the best defenses, and Florida would qualify. But at some point, I think he can break through. I think it could be here. It's Duke and Houston next on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Duke Houston, a.k.a. many are saying it, the Kevin Walsh Bowl. We're hearing it left, right, and center. I mean, they're saying, wow, this guy, preseason Duke, in-season Houston. They're like, whoa, K-Dub, that's too much chalk. Let's be honest. It's better than those who realized it just when the bracket was set. So shout out me. Someone had to do it, so I will. It's an interesting one, though, because picking a preseason national champion is a little bit more impressive, probably, than picking an in-season national champion. Yet I'm a lot more connected to my in-season Cougs than my preseason Blue Devils. I just am. Despite the fact that this Duke team is just ripping and roaring through every single opponent that they face, despite the fact that I've heard some have already set up dinner dates Monday based around a Dookie win. Could you believe? Could you believe the disrespect to the Cougs? Houston's been a delight. And it took the books ages and ages and ages to move the number on Houston in the way they were moving the number on Duke or Auburn or Florida. And really the only reason they've budged on Houston is because they're now here in the Final Four. The Cougars are around half of their preseason number. These teams were all half of their preseason number halfway into the season. I felt the Cougs were a bit disrespected. The question is, are they being disrespected on this line here today? Or is it just a product? All right, clean it up back there. Or is it just a product of how good Duke is, Joe?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, I think Houston, the win over Tennessee, I really got people bought in.
Yeah.
When you saw them struggle.
You were Joey Volunteer that day?
No, I didn't. I thought the Volunteers would lose.
Okay.
I was on the total, which was wrong by me. But I had to buy it through down to 107.5 and still scrape out of the abyss after that because it was a wheel play. But that's besides the point. So I think that victory on how they dominated Lanier and that team right now, holding them in check and racing out to a double-digit first-half lead, never really relinquished that. That really got people bought in to say, hey, you know what, Coach? This Houston defense is for real. And you see the 4 games that they have won. They've won in the tournament by an average margin of victory of 16 points per game, right? They do it offensively with Emmanuel Sharp, LJ Cryer, that didn't have his best game against Purdue, and they could shoot threes, but they do it with defense, right? The last 4 opponents they have held in this tournament to 27% for three-point shooting. And when you look at Duke, they're averaging 47% over the last 4 games in the tournament. To me, that's the matchup. Duke might win, but I like the points with Houston in terms of this matchup. 4.5 up to 5.5. I do feel potentially it starts slow. I think we get over the total, but give me the points with Houston.
I think when you look at this matchup, people are going to talk about the contrasting styles, right? Duke being this great offense, Houston being this great defense. But people got to realize it's the flip side as well. Houston's a very good offensively, and this is a completely different Houston team than the ones we've seen in the past. This is not the, give it to Marcus Sasser, like, go save us, right? This isn't give it to Jamal Shed, go save us. They have a player in Milo Uzan, the transfer from Oklahoma, that can kind of do a little bit of everything, right, as a point guard. Then you have LJ Cryer, second year there after being at Baylor. Someone that's dynamic scoring the ball off the bounce of the three-point shot. And then you got the sniper and Emmanuel Sharp. Mm-hmm. Big shot taker, big shot maker. A guy that can knock down big shots. And if you watch that Tennessee game, when that game got tight, when they got tight with the referees and they got that lead all the way on to 10, it was Emmanuel Sharp from 20 feet. No. Let me back up. Emmanuel Sharp from 23 feet? No. Let me back up. Emmanuel Sharp from 26 feet. Yep. 1, 2, 3, game over, drive home safely. So when you look at this, I think people need to start to recognize how good their offense is, but also how great Duke's defense is. These are 2 teams that are not going to get sped up. You saw Tennessee try and speed them up a little bit when they got down big in the second half. Houston broke the press, got back, got into their offense, settled down, run their stuff. To me, you know what? Please, I know it was 125.5, got to 126.5. I'm praying y'all keep betting it up to 127.5. I think this game is a dead under. If you look at the history of Houston, when they get to these spots versus big-time opponents, did anybody remember 52-48 versus Villanova? That game in the Elite Eight?
Yeah.
Literally.
I think I was on the over in that game.
Yeah, me too. I learned my lesson. So to me, I think this game is a dead under, and it's going to be amazing to watch youth versus experience, Kevin, not just on the court, but on the sideline between John Shire and Calvin Sampson.
So I want to – Duke is the best team in the country, and if the championship was decided – a best of 7, they absolutely, to me, would win the title. But it is single elimination. And that means that you don't get to feel a team out and make adjustments game to game to game. And I think that Duke had the easiest pathway for them going into this tournament. Now, Duke dusted these teams, okay? I don't think Duke would have been better off if the Bama game was decided by 2 or if the Arizona game was decided by 1. That's not what I'm trying to say. Forget Mount St. Mary. Baylor, offense first. Arizona, offense first. Alabama, come on. These are teams who are not only offense first, they clearly don't defend at the elite level. And they all, by the way, Coach, quicker than the last. So now you go from playing Alabama, total 174.5, culture shock. What's going on? The total's 40 points lower nearly, 136.5 right now. And you haven't seen a defense this good at all this season, simple as. You just haven't. And you haven't really faced many teams this slow, which could be jarring to you as well. Alabama going out there and trying to out-NBA a team of NBA guys, it wasn't the matchup for the Crimson Tide. It just wasn't. Duke has played 3 games, 3, against top 20 defenses. Auburn, a win at home. Kansas, a loss on a neutral, and the 1 ACC loss at Clemson. It's just not something Duke has even enough experience with, but in the limited sample size they do, right? On the flip side, though, Coach, Houston's could have prepped them any better? Hey, we have to play an elite offense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, here comes Gonzaga. Oh, we got to play an elite offense, but it's a half-court offense. Oh, yeah, here's Purdue. Oh, we need a smothering defense. Here's Tennessee. And now, and I think it's certainly not a negative. I think it's a bit of a positive. I like playing in my home state if I'm the Houston Cougars. I sure do. I'm on a plus 5.5, no doubt about it. I still believe they win this basketball game.
And I'm with you 100%. I think that's the thing. Styles make fights, and people are saying all the time, I've heard it all week, oh, well, Houston's never seen a Duke. Duke hasn't seen a Houston. Nowhere close. Mm-hmm. But Houston has seen high-powered offense. You can even look at Iowa State and some of the teams they played in the Big 12. They've played better competition, Joe, the entire season, and this is when it comes down to, is the moment now too big for the freshmen? Because I know one thing's for sure. Calvin Sampson's team's going to be ready, and they're going to stick to their game plan.
Absolutely. They play the way they did against Tennessee on both sides of the ball. They'll be within the number. I honestly believe that. Cryer with 17 points came back, rebounded in a big way, and the way Sharp hit threes, 4-10, you shoot 40% against Duke, you're going to be in the matchup.
It's going to be really fun to watch this one play out. Let's talk a little bit more about it, as well as Superstar Cooper Flag, what we expect from the future. Number 1 overall pick today against the Cougs. That's next, right here on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Betting above the rim college basketball today. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi, and Coach James Young. Duke and Houston go head-to-head. A number that is a little inconsistent out there, a 5.5s, 4.5s, flat 5. Depending on your side, you always want to get the best of that number. The total right now, 136.5. There looks to be some trends towards, or it's trending up as opposed to down, and 137 is out there right now. So perhaps you're going to see this number climb throughout the day. I like Houston in this one. I will add this quickly just to the Houston breakdown. If they do drop this game, if it does not go their way, well, in the 4 losses this year, they've all been by 5 or less. It is absolutely on the board that Duke wins and Houston covers. It 100% is. Because of the way Houston plays, it is hard to extend on a team like that. Tell me, Coach, what you expect from Cooper Flagg in this basketball game. Prop players, of course, will always gravitate towards the future number 1 overall pick. His performance, I am sure, will dictate so much of the outcome of this game.
Yeah, and I think Cooper Flagg's going to have a good game, but I think for me, it's going to be his ability with the rebounds. Because if I'm Calvin Sampson, I'm not letting this guy go off. Right, and I'm going to be physical, and I'm going to have to make sure that I keep my guys out of foul trouble. Obviously, you'll see Juwan Roberts start on him. Xavier Francis is about 6'8", but long wingspan, athletic, big. Even though you see him as a rim protector, Artino is a little bit shorter, at about 6'6". But I expect multiple defenders, Kevin, to be set at Cooper Flagg. I wouldn't touch his points prop because if you think about it. If I think the game's going under and it's at about 136, 137, that means I need Cooper Flagg to get about 30, 35% of the points. That doesn't happen against a guy like Calvin Sampson. So to me, if you're looking points, I'm looking under. But because of, I think, both teams defensively and maybe Cooper Flagg, Joe finds a different way to impact the game, to me, it's a 7.5 rebounds. I think, especially when Malloy is in the game, they're going to keep him off the boards. Cooper may struggle with a shot, which means he may go chase rebounds. That's what I'm looking at, over the 7.5 rebounds for Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, it's a good look. To Coach's point about the 20-plus for Cooper Flagg, it's plus 134, so 18.5 he's average right now. 20, the book isn't even expecting him to get to 20 in terms of this matchup. I look at the assists, though. I agree with Coach that Houston wants to take away Flagg in that capacity, right? So I look at him on the offensive side of the ball being that facilitator. So 6+ in terms of assists and 8 assists, you're getting great value. You're almost getting 2-to-1, I believe, on 6+ assists. So you take him up to 8, I think it's almost like plus 290 in that area, plus 232. I look at him as being the facilitator. I look at the 2 scorers for Duke today. I still go with the hot hand, Con Knippel. He's averaged 20.5 over the last 2 games of the tournament. He's been hot from 3, and we talk about how dominant Duke has been from 3-point range, 47%. Well, you got to expect that Houston wants to take away Proctor as well because he's the sharpshooter. Knippel, left alone, he's got the length, he's got the height. He's plus value for 20+. Give me Knippel to keep that train moving. I go with the hot hand in the matchup, guys.
And if you see, to me, if you look at someone that I'm looking at in that matchup in regards to threes, I'm going to the other guard. I'm going to Proctor. Okay? And I think I saw earlier, and it was like plus 130, plus 140 for him to make, I think, 3+ made threes. I think that number is gone. I saw it at plus 105 late last night. So I think that's something interesting is you want to be able to take away the best player. And I think that's what Calvin Sampson does the best. That's why all of us are thinking that Cooper Flagg getting to 20 points is going to be so monumental because I just don't think he's seen anything like this. The physicality, the length, the fact that it's going to be a half-court game, a Houston team that doesn't turn the ball over and walks them off the floor. So the transition stuff that Cooper Flagg's going to get, he won't get in this matchup. To me, it all comes down to those 2 guys, Proctor and Sharp. One of those 2 are going to knock down a 3 or 2 that's going to be big. That's why I actually, if you want me to say, all right, give me a prop that you like from Duke, it's going to be Proctor to make 3+ made threes at plus 104. It's moved 25 cents since last night. Manuel Sharp was like plus 150. It's now at plus 120. So I think those 2, Kevin, play crucial roles in this game because you have great rim protectors. You're going to drive the ball. The help's going to come somewhere. It's not going to come from the big. The 3-point shot could be there. Those are the 2 guys I'll be looking at.
So I think I'm kind of against the both of you when it comes to what I expect from Cooper Flagg in this game. Is from the assist perspective, albeit a small sample size, against Clemson, 1 assist, Kansas, 3 assists, Auburn, 4 assists. His under is back to, it was 5.5 with the under at minus 155. It's now 4.5 at plus 110 to the under. Give me the plus money. I don't expect it to be a game where Cooper has a lot of success passing because Houston won't allow it. And I think it could be a game where Cooper Flagg is forced to score more because of how good Houston is. Listen, so look, we all like Houston on the desk, right? You and I, certainly, Coach, have talked about how great they are. Let's be fair. They don't have reps against Cooper Flagg. Nobody has reps against Cooper Flagg unless you've played Cooper Flagg. The kid's the first overall pick we know it, right? He can play in the NBA right now. We know it. That's how good he is. So I think you get in a game like this, and if there are struggles elsewhere on the floor, as long as Cooper stays out of foul trouble, it's just going to up the volume. And Cooper's often an inefficient game against Alabama. The other reason I'm interested in the Cooper Flagg over. Now, I haven't played the over points. I'm interested in it. I haven't played it. It's down so much from the Bama game. Rightfully so. 24.5 in that Bama game. Down to 18.5 today. There is a buy low perspective for me on that.
Here's the thing I would say really quickly. If Cooper Flagg goes off offensively, I don't think that's good for Duke. Because I think that means anyone else probably can't get theirs. And he's forced to do it, which could play into Houston's hands.
The Purdue-UConn final from last year where Zach Edey's still scoring buckets on that team and absolutely did deserve the Final Four Most Outstanding Player of the Award. We'll restart that argument. Don't you don't you doubt it. We get to the women's game next right here on SportsGrid.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number ones, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number ones. Only one can truly be number one.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right here on SportsGrid, we have the Women's National Championship game tomorrow. Talk about the path to that game. It's time for Coach's Corner. Yesterday, we saw South Carolina and Texas, a little SEC battle in game number 1, where Dawn Staley once again gets her team back to the national championship game. No different for Gino Auriemma and the UConn Huskies, who take down UCLA and certainly do not let your eyes deceive you. I do appreciate none of the big publications even attempting to say UConn upsets UCLA, despite being a 2 seed, a 7.5-point favorite in that game. Coach, I will start with the South Carolina-Texas game. What was your biggest takeaway from that matchup with the Gamecocks winning and covering 74-57?
Well, it's obviously the bench play when you look at South Carolina. I really thought the play of, honestly, Joyce Edwards and Malaysia Fulwiley, particularly first quarter, second quarter, is really key. They got off to a really slow start offensively. Once those two kind of got rolling, it helped. Obviously, you know, the play of Papal to hit a couple of threes late first quarter, first half, early second half were key. And Madison Booker, you know, Kate, up getting that third foul in the second quarter. Vic Schaefer, hell of a coach, not getting her out of the game. Offense, defense, really turned that game. It was only a 2-point game. And obviously, South Carolina knew what they had to do. They were down 10 early. Listen, outscore them by 4, right? Lead at the break. And then 20-6 or 29 into the third quarter. Dawn Staley's team played as good a defense last time that they've played in a couple of months.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible stuff from this South Carolina team. This South Carolina team, though, is, if you will, somewhat responsible for the UConn surge in the market. These teams met late in the season at South Carolina. Gamecocks were a 7.5-point favorite, and they got rolled up in their building by 29 points with a great game out of AZ Fudd. Fast forward to last night's game, and we saw UCLA rolled up after a great game by AZ Fudd. Those 19 points all came in the first half, and it was over right then and there. 85-51, Coach. UConn takes out the Bruins. What was your takeaway from this matchup?
AZ Fudd. I mean, AZ Fudd. I mean, I don't know what other way to look at it. Listen, when you look at the box score and say that Paige Becker's got you, you know, and it was a slow start. It was 16 points. It was a slow start for Paige, right? And you say, they won by 30? Like, it wasn't even a contest. And it was basically, Joe, what they figured out is we're going to play the Zach Edey treatment. We're going to let Lauren Betts get to her spot, score all the points. She had 26 points. The rest of the starters had 14.
Yeah.
You can't beat a team like that.
No, and you knock out a number 1 seed by what, 24 points, 34 points? I mean, a dominant effort, right? Number 2 seed in terms of the tournament. It wasn't even close. You talk about Fudd, 7 of 12 from the field. She shoots 3 of 5 from 3, just dominates, and that type of momentum really carries this team now into the national championship game on Sunday against South Carolina. What I'm intrigued about, Kev, is when you look at both of these teams, and to your point that they got blown out in the regular season matchup. From the coach's perspective, Coach, what do you do differently? Because obviously you don't want to utilize the same game plan, right? You might have had a bad day or a bad night shooting the basketball, and defensively maybe you just weren't up to par. But to get blown out from a psychological perspective, that plays into players' minds, right? You have to start fast, but do you, as a coach, do you change it up in any capacity or show a different look early to see if you can gain some momentum in terms of the championship?
And what's interesting about this game is this game took place in February. And which is great about the women's game is they play each other all season long. So when you look at that 87-58 game, yeah, it was AZ Fudd, but it was a propensity to allow a team to shoot nearly 50% from 3. If you are Dawn Staley, Raven Johnson, Tessa Johnson, Malaysia Fawali, you have to defend the 3-point line. And you got to make sure you run AZ Fudd off the line. You got to run Caitlin Trent off the line. And here's the crazy stat about that game. They won 87-58. And Paige Beckers shot 3 of 12 from the floor. Good luck if you think that's happening tomorrow.
I think that's one of the things as somebody yesterday who was very loudly on UCLA. If you were to tell me, hey, Lauren Betts, 26 points, 11 of 18 shooting. Hey, Paige Beckers, only 16 points, 7 of 17 shooting. Huh? What's my what? Not good. Not good. Let's talk some Wooden Award. No. Let's talk some Final Four Most Outstanding Player. That's next.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid. 4 number 1s, 4 champions, 4 teams that battled and clawed their way here. But here's the thing about 4 number 1s. Only one can truly be number 1.
Incredibly difficult.
When the stakes are highest, there's only one place to get all your betting insights. SportsGrid. We've got you covered until only one remains. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
The team we expected to be a national championship frontrunner all season long and even before the big dance. That is the Duke Blue Devils.
I don't care that people are like, oh, anticlimactic. You have the 4 best teams lined up, superstar coaches, young coaches, old coaches, veteran teams, young teams. This has got a lot of great storylines heading to the Final Four this weekend.
Only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.